Yo, 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 welcome to the Good Times Are Spooking Us podcast, special edition. We are doing a new movie. We're talking about Joker. I'm your boy David, and I'm joined by K-Town.
K-Town!
And Marquise.
Yo!
So, this is only our second time doing a spoilercast for a movie that just dropped, but I feel like this movie in particular is pertinent to not only just doing spoilercast, but kind of the whole zeitgeist of our podcast in general, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's
controversial.
It's got a cultural movement kind of behind it. It's up there, man.
It's zany. It's weird, and it's a little bit spooky. I mean, is this really It's
definitely spooky.
Yeah. I had shivers through a lot of scenes in this fucking movie, dude.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah, I think that's such a big purpose of it. Whether you loved it or you hated it, without a doubt, this movie is unlike anything I've really seen in recent memory. So let's kick it off in the spoiler-free zone and kind of talk about what we expected when we first heard about this movie leading up to it. What were y'all's feelings about it? When did you even look at any reviews? What did you think going in, even based on hearing about the hype?
So when I first heard that, I think it was like last year when I started hearing about how Joaquin Phoenix was going to be playing Joker in this new Joker movie and such. And I'm going to tell you, bro, your boy was like, I don't know. First, I don't know if we needed a Joker origin movie. And then when I found out about Joaquin Phoenix, that's when I was like, all right. That's when I got a little more faith, possibly. But then I was like, still, this could go either terribly. This could either be terribly good or terribly bad. Mm-hmm. And, dude, I was actually surprised how much I really enjoyed this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely went in not thinking this was going to be a good film at all.
Really?
I hate DC comic movies. The only movies I've ever enjoyed that DC-wise has been Christopher Nolan's Batmans.
DC just, like, historically just can't get it right,
They can't. Justice League was garbage. Batman vs. Superman was garbage. Suicide Squad was...
Martha!
I could barely... Oh, dude, don't even get me started on fucking Martha.
Well, if you get historical, I mean, aren't there the old, like, Tim Burton and Michael Keaton Batman movies are kind of
those
like...
Those are held in good, in high regard, I believe.
But those are campy.
Yeah.
Those are campy.
Intentionally campy. That's
intentionally
Tim Burton.
campy.
Yeah, it's that Tim Burton.
And I can deal with that, but serious-wise, like, nothing they've put out in the last 5 years has been good. Mm-hmm. At all.
A lot of people like...
the last Joker they did before this,
Leto, I think.
Jared Leto's Joker was the cringiest, most hot topic bullshit I've ever seen in my life. He literally had damage tattooed on his forehead. Like, it was so just goofy and shitty, and I was not expecting this to be a good film. I went in with the worst of intentions to see this, and I came out, I fucking love this movie.
Is it crazy that I wanted Jared Leto? At the time, I wanted Jared Leto to be a good Joker. I wanted it, but it's like...
You always want someone to be a good something. I never... Watching those movies, I always go in wanting it to be good, but it's never good.
Well, I also feel like the Joker has like such a history of having like really iconic performances. I mean, not only just the Heath Ledger one, but also when you think about Jack Nicholson, when you think about our boy, Luke Skywalker guy doing the
Mark Hamill
doing the animated version. Like that's one of the most famous.
Even his video games, the video games interpretations of Jokers have been great.
Yeah,
Mark Hamill.
It's interesting how, like, when I first heard about Joaquin Phoenix doing this Joker, I thought, okay, they're going back into the lane of Heath Ledger. Because, like, with Jared Leto's Joker with Suicide Squad, it's obvious that they were like, okay, like, we can't really beat that. That's such a different type of vibe. We're going to go in a totally different direction and do kind of like this young kind of, like, Spencer's Hot Topic type of Joker, which, you know, I don't think it worked.
Mr. J.
I haven't seen it. I don't think it worked. But with Joaquin Phoenix, it's like clearly Joaquin Phoenix is known as like one of those actors who kind of like really pushes himself to get like really extreme and really into the role.
Just digs into the role. He's known for like really
when he
digging
did Johnny Cash and Walk the Line. I love that movie. He killed that role. That movie is him.
Or
just being an amazing actor.
Or when he was in that movie Brother Bear.
I don't even know what the fuck.
Something about the animated movies?
Yeah, he was.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was the main character in that Disney movie.
Wow, he's come a ways, dude. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I kind of feel the same way about DC. A little bit of a personal thing. Like, for me, I only just recently started getting into superhero movies at all. Like, it's fairly recent that I even started watching the Marvel movies. Like, I watched Avengers Infinity War, then Endgame, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go back and watch all of these movies, and literally watch all of them. And still, like, I can't even bring myself to give a single shit about any of the DC movies except for, like you said, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, which still to this day, I think that The Dark Knight is not only just a great superhero movie, that's just a great film in general. And I think it's revered as that. I mean, Heath Ledger won the posthumous Best Supporting Actor role for that movie, maybe because he died doing it, maybe not. I don't know.
I do think that plays a big part. Not that he wasn't it wasn't an amazing, performance, but the clout gets bumped up when you die.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hot take real quick. I think Dark Knight Rises is a lot better than The Dark Knight.
That's a hot take.
That's a take for another... yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
But I've heard that sentiment, yeah.
But those movies, I mean, even if Batman didn't exist outside of those movies, those are still just good movies. Mm-hmm. It's a good story. They're very well acted.
Yeah, solid movies.
Just amazing movies. And it has nothing to do with the comic, behind it. They're just good movies on their own.
And it's kind of the same thing with Joker. Like, this movie is so totally... it doesn't feel like it's just a superhero movie. And really, until you kind of get to where they're like, until you hear the word Wayne, the last name Wayne passed around, you're like... Or Gotham City. It feels like you're kind of being reminded, this is actually technically in a superhero world. For me, I was really excited when I saw this period. I thought the tone looked really interesting. I didn't really like the new Joker's makeup, and I still don't really like it, but I think it works. It wasn't as iconic as Heath
I liked
Ledger's.
it once I started watching the movie. When I saw posters and shit for it, I was like, that looks garbage.
Yeah, standalone.
But with the context of the film, I really liked the makeup.
Mm-hmm. So, shall we get into it? Get out of the spoiler-free zone and start talking about this movie?
All right, we're about to jump right into the spoiler section, guys. So
this is a spoiler cast, so you should already know.
Yeah, so you already knew.
Literally called spoilercast. Come on, guys.
So the spoilers begin right now.
Lucky you got that much.
So we are in the year 1981 in New York. I mean, Gotham City. Technically, I'm in Gotham City, and it is looking rough in Gotham City.
They're having a tough time in Gotham, man. I think I remember leaning over to you some point in the movie and be like, dude, Gotham sucks.
Yeah, at multiple times during the movie, you were just like, this sucks, dude.
They're no one gives a shit about anything. It's trashy. There's super rats everywhere.
Dude, super rats. The fucking super rats.
But that's really kind of based on some early, late 70s or early 80s New York City shit. The whole fucking garbage strike, that's a real thing that happened in New York. The fucking mega rats that they have in New York,
it looks like every shot of the city looks like a scene from either Taxi Driver or The Warriors.
Yeah,
just that shitty, gritty, just old New York vibe.
Yeah, we got that kind of 70s, 80s, early 80s look with the clothes and the cars and the vehicles and the buildings even.
You're getting stabbed walking down an alley out there.
Yeah, I mean, and this movie was, directly influenced by Taxi Driver. Even the fact that they have Robert De Niro, who was a star of Taxi Driver, has the comedian. What was his name again? I have it in here somewhere.
Murray.
Yeah, Murray. We'll just call him Murray.
Murray Franklin.
Yeah.
Did you know that Martin Scorsese's production company produced it?
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I can see that.
He was initially involved, but he kind of backed out and let his other people take over it because they needed somebody to produce it, and that was centralized in New York, and so his company helped produce it.
That's sick. I can see that.
Another kind of interesting thing about this movie is the director Todd Phillips is actually most known as a comedy director. He's the guy that did The Hangover and Borat.
Yeah, this is his first venture out of comedy, I believe. So it's really he's known for those kind of frat comedies and shit. Don't
you dare say that about The Hangover.
God, the Hangover does not hold up too well, man. And at least by it's funny, but
the first 2 minutes of that movie is paging Dr.
Watching that last summer, I was like, whoa. But when it came out, I was weak.
It don't work now.
Anyway. So basically, we find out that in this movie is like an origin story of the Joker. So in order to kind of explain like a more realistic version of the Joker, a huge motif in this movie is the fact that the Joker has like severe mental illness. They don't say exactly like what disorder it is, but he takes 7 different medications. He has a social services, psychologist, therapist, more of a
probably just a social worker.
Yeah, like just a social worker. She really doesn't give a shit. And
he was in jail at some point.
Yeah, apparently he was institutionalized beforehand. That's why he's with the social worker. So he's already kind of cracking up a bit off the jump. Like you can see he's a little bit disturbed, and he's got some issues he's dealing with.
And he not to mention he's taking care of his mother, who's I guess basically schizophrenic. They don't say that, but she's delusional.
She's also got some kind of mental health issues.
Oh yeah, severely. He's got a mom that he takes care of. He washes her, feeds her, everything like that. Like the whole 9 yards. Like washes her in a bathtub and cuts her meat for her while she's just watching TV. It's real not a good look. But he also has a job. His main source of income is as a clown. He works has a party clown for like a little
I guess a rent-a-clown depot.
Basically.
Can we just talk about the opening scene for a second?
What was the opening scene?
Where he's just sitting in front of the mirror, putting on the makeup, crying.
Oh yeah,
and like forcing himself to smile.
Well, they go right into it.
Like that's literally just the opening. Is just him just pulling his lips apart to make himself smile while a tear is running down his clown makeup.
Yeah, I think it's a very quick allusion to there's a 1928 silent film, which I know it sounds like I'm getting film nerd for a second, but like there's a 1928 silent film called The Man Who Laughs, which actually it's about a character who has this permanent smile, who's like kind of like a sideshow act at like circuses. He's got this permanent smile. He can't change his face any other type of way. He's stuck looking like he's smiling even if he's miserable or whatever. And the smile that he has in that image is what the comic book Joker's smile is based off of. He's got this if you were to see an image of it, like if you look up The Man Who Laughs right now, you'll see the smile and you'll be like, oh, that's the comic book Joker's smile. So in this movie, they obviously kind of like doubled down on that by taking that back in, that this motif of having a person who cannot help but express an emotion that is oftentimes the exact opposite of how he feels. He basically laughs whenever he's crying.
Yeah, so he has a condition where he when he's trying to internalize something or dealing with something, he starts laughing. Like he's like seized with uncontrollable laughing, and it's weird and it's creepy, even especially because like the way you can tell it's like
the laugh
uncontrollable.
Is painful.
He's even choking on it.
You can hear him choking.
I can't even do that laugh.
You can hear like the pain in his chest when he does it.
Yeah,
it fucking hurts.
Yeah. Well, Hawking definitely worked on doing that laugh. Joaquin. He definitely worked on that shit for a while. But I'm not gonna lie. Maybe this is a hot take, but I know, especially you and me, Mark, like, we were weak. Like, honestly, I was laughing a lot with him for something about it, just like, because he doesn't choose, but he laughs like the weirdest times that you're just kind of like, oh my god.
And it was like the way the laugh itself is just so, because there was the uncontrollable laugh that he did, which was like, you could see he was trying to stifle it and he just couldn't.
Well, even his his laugh that he forced.
His actual laugh is like even still like creepy. It was like very high pitched and like. Like, it was just like, so cringy, dude. Like,
So basically what kind of puts the plot in motion is one day he's outside and he's spinning this sign around for some business, and he's spinning it pretty badly. There's one part where the sign is upside down and he's like carrying it up, and someone's like, if you're going to be a clown, at least be a good clown or whatever. And then like a bunch of kids come by and they start mocking him, and they steal the sign, and they're like running like across the fucking busy street, and he's chasing them. He's really going in after this damn
he's
sign.
He's really trying to get this sign back. I thought he was going to give up after a while, but he's like, nah, I really need that sign.
And I mean, they'll come in later, but I guess that sign must have been kind of expensive. They make it into a big deal.
It turns into a little bit of a plot point.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, he follows them all the way into an alley, which, like, obviously they're just some miscreant kind of like kids. Like, what do you think's going to happen if you follow them into an alley?
You would never catch me in any alley in Gotham. Day, night, never. Never. Alleys are like the worst place to be in Gotham, apparently.
Yeah. There's a few alleys where you don't want to be in. Yeah,
there's fucking super rats. Dude.
Yeah, true. So he goes in this alley, and this kid just beat the shit out of him, and that's when you first kind of get a sympathetic look into this very different Joker. Like we're so used to seeing the Joker as kind of being like just this malevolent, evil person from the jump. But in this movie, you actually kind of feel bad for him because he's just getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, dude. 5 minutes into the movie, he's catching a fade by like a group of kids.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even say
That,
teenagers. They were
isn't
like
that where the
kids.
title screen like pops in?
Yeah, big as fuck.
Oh,
Yeah.
Joker.
He's just laying on the ground, like literally holding his dick, like crying, and it's just like Joker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it opens. I forgot to mention. We didn't mention how it opens with the kind of old school Warner Brothers logo, the like
Yeah.
70s
Oh, yeah.
version. Yeah, that's so they already from
did
the
like
jump
that.
they're throwing
Yeah.
you into this like
They're-
kind of period piece type of I guess vibe. You
Well,
know?
like this is not just a typical superhero movie. Like we're really trying to do a film, y'all.
yeah, we doing some kind of film out here.
So he gets jumped in the alleyway, and some of his other fellow clown homies hear about it, and one of them just kind of casually gives him a gun.
Yeah, he's like, dude, it's wild out there.
He's like, I'm not supposed to have a gun. Well, just keep it on you just in case there, bud.
No, he literally says it just like that. Actually,
We're not supposed to have guns.
like you silly goose.
So he gets the gun, and you know this is kind of weird. And at some point, he actually a little bit after this, he meets a neighbor of his who
Not even meets.
Yeah, I don't even know if you can call it that.
He's in an elevator, and they're riding up the elevator, and the neighbor has a young daughter with her. She's like a pretty young like chick. Mm-hmm. She has a young daughter with her, and the daughter's like being like super just like naggy and annoying. And he turns back and looks at her, and the neighbor girl puts a finger gun up to her head and pretends to blow her brains out, and then that's the interaction.
And he does it back to her, but he does it in like a way more visceral way, where he like shifts his whole head back, like it really like blew his fucking head.
Not funny.
Yeah, and which, by the way, that's a direct allusion to Taxi Driver. The last scene of Taxi Driver, where he's sitting there with the gun to his head, and he's like, you know, just one of those things.
Zazie Beetz is the name of the actress, man. She actually is. She's in that show Atlanta. She's like a main character in Atlanta. Like,
Hell yeah,
yeah.
she's going in.
I was stoked to see her in there. Also, they had another cast member from Atlanta in the movie later on.
Was he
Cameo.
the clerk?
Yeah, the clerk. Yeah.
So they have this kind of awkward interaction that isn't really like she sees him do this, but she doesn't seem like totally weird out from it. She's a little bit like, all right,
She gives him a like that awkward smirk, like
Like,
okay, we're neighbors, and you know, let's keep it whatever. The next day, your boy goes ahead and follows her while she's dropping off her daughter at school.
He follows her all the way like
and
to
follows
work.
her to work.
Another one of those moments in the movie where it's just like, ugh, it's like, okay, this is kind of cringy, kind of gross, like because the way they keep showing the scenes of him like in the shadows, kind of lurking with the hoodie on and stuff, and he's just like, I don't know, and he's also kind of bad at following her.
Yeah, because she comes back later on. She's like, "Were you following me?"
Even like when she goes to work, where I guess she was
knocks
in the bank.
on the door. He opens the door, and she's like, "Were you following me today?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. and at some point she says something to him.
I was
she
really
works at a
hoping.
bank.
I really was hoping you were going to come in and rob the place, and he was like, "Well, I got my gun in my."
I was weak when he was
He's like, I can come by tomorrow.
So it's such a bad look for you, and like, were you following me yesterday? And the next thing, or then you say, yeah. The next thing you say is, well, I've got a gun here too. I was just like, yo, this is horrible.
Yeah,
This is absolutely horrible. And then I mean, you know,
but somehow she's into it.
yeah, let's say she's into it. We'll find out it's a little trickier than that later on. But it turns out she's into it, and she starts going like to him to comedy shows, because we find out that his kind of side hustle, his aspiration, is to become an actual comedian.
Stand up.
Yeah. So a big thing him and his mom do every night is they watch this show. What's the
Murray Franklin.
Murray Franklin show? He's basically like a Jay Leno or like Conan O'Brien thing. He has the late night show. He does his little opening monologue jokes and stuff. And him and his mom, like, that's their big thing. They watch that every night together. So like he's obsessed with this guy, and that's kind of like his dream. He even has like a sequence where like he's imagining like he's in the audience and he gets pulled up on stage to do like a comedic joke with them, and like Murray hugs him and says, "You're the son I've never had," and all this stuff.
Yeah, a straight up full on delusion.
It's a really sad. It's really depressing. Like, as a person whose father never appreciated it.
Yeah, same here.
I got it. So
Yeah. So one day, it cuts to a scene of him at a children's hospital, where he's he's doing his old Patch Adams
Yeah, I was
thing.
gonna say, he's doing Patch
he's
Adams.
killing it, man.
And I was loving it. I was like,
kids loved it.
It was endearing. I was like, wow, like he's actually making these cancer kids like really happy. The nurse is into it. She's like, yeah, and then just like the gun falls out of his pants while he's doing it.
He drops his burner like flat on the floor, in front
And he
of, like,
picks it
20
up
kids.
and he like plays it off. He's like,
Did y'all catch? There was a little kid who points like finger guns at him while he's doing it.
He's like, oh shit.
Yeah. So, a part where maybe wasn't meant to be funny, but I was so weak at
Yeah,
this.
I was dying.
weak, dude. I was so weak.
there's a lot of parts in that movie that I just laughed at that no rational human being should be laughing at.
But that's a major plot point too, because he's already getting fussed out about his boss behind.
yeah,
like-
because
he lost the sign.
He lost the sign. They were going
Yeah.
to take it out of his paycheck.
And on top of that, people think he's weird. Like his boss is saying, he's like, it's already like I get enough complaints about you all already because you're a weirdo. Like he's like this gun thing, dude. What the fuck? So he gets fired. He gets fired behind the gun thing.
Well, yeah,
As he
he's
should.
on a payphone getting screamed out and fired, and then he headbutts the like glass and shatters it, and then immediately goes on the bus and is riding home.
Yeah, this is when the threshold has been broken. It starts to really, like, he's really coming undone at this point. And he goes on the subway, and there are these real assholes, these kind of, like, good old boy-looking dudes who are, like, harassing this one girl.
There's some yuppies.
Yeah, they're basically, like, some yuppie dudes.
They look like Duke University lacrosse team.
Yeah, or, like, the Trump sons,
Yeah,
kind of.
they're drunk on the train, and they're harassing this girl, offering her like
French fries.
dusty ass French fries.
Yeah.
She's like,
He's being nice to you. Eat a French fry.
these guys were the worst.
And then his disorder kicks in, and he starts laughing, and they're kind of looking at him, they're like, what the fuck? And then she gets up, because she's just like, all right, there's these three dudes who are being assholes, there's some fucking asshole
some-
And a
clown.
clown.
Yes,
Yeah.
because he's still in the makeup and everything.
Yeah,
Like, he took
fully
his
decked
wig
out.
off and everything, but he's still like in the makeup, like just grieving from losing his job as
Yeah.
this is happening on the subway.
Yeah, like, he's really crying.
Yeah,
And
even at that moment, like, that when he's laughing, he's actually crying, but it comes out as laughter, and these guys kind of take notice. They're like, the fuck is so funny?
They come to him, they start beating him up, and then just, dude, I don't know, like, because I knew he had the gun, but it still took me by complete surprise. They're just beating the shit out of him, and then you're just kind of like, oh, here's another scene of him getting the shit beat out of him, and then just,
Next
bam!
second, he's just fucking airing
Headshot.
them out, dude. Airing them the fuck
Yeah,
out.
dude.
Like, it actually goes from 0 to 100 at this scene.
Instantly. Yeah, kills one dude dead in the head.
Kills one dude dead in
two,
the head.
actually.
Shoots two of them. The one dude he shoots in the leg, and the guy is able to get to another train on the car train, another car on the train,
Yeah.
whatever. And it comes to a stop, and the guy runs out, and he's like running.
And
up the
no
stairs.
one's there. It's like, no one's there to see him
So
really
Joker
running.
just runs
Gotham
down
sucks.
and guns the fuck out of this dude. Like empties
Yeah.
the rest of the clip.
Yeah,
out
he
into him.
chases him down. He executes this guy.
So he walks on through Gotham City, dark-ass Gotham City, and goes to some, like, bathroom somewhere, and then your boy just breaks down.
So this is
And-
when he first starts to he
dances.
He starts this little transformation. This is probably one of his first actual. I think
I love every dancing scene in this fucking.
this is what I think. I think with because you see how his character is, how Joaquin portrays him as this very tense, very just like, I don't know, man, uncomfortable person,
broken person.
very
Yeah,
broken,
that's a good way to
uncomfortable.
put it, yeah.
And with every kill, he loosens up a little bit. You guys notice that? By the end, he's
because the first dance, it's very slow. He's
Yeah, he's
not really
figuring it out,
He's
yeah.
figuring out the dance, and then by the end of the movie, that fucking stair
Oh,
scene,
he's got that shit
killing
down.
that
He's
shit,
got
bro.
that shit down. So yeah, he does this weird, like, kind of interpretive dance thing in the bathroom, which goes on a little too long, if you ask me.
Oh, I loved every second. I loved every
But-
second of this film. Nothing was wasted to me.
That's the first of many. Low key, this dude loves to dance.
Low key, he got some moves.
Yeah, ahead of his time. This is 81.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So y'all just want to kind of like just open up the rest of this movie. We've gotten to the threshold, and now he's gone full blown fucking insane.
So the next big thing, he's sitting at home. They're talking on the news about supposedly there's this clown murderer that killed these 3 good old boy white businessmen that work for Wayne Enterprises. And Thomas Wayne comes on the news and he's like, yeah, they're a great man. I treat everyone in my company like family, man. And it's really sucks. People... The sentiment in this city is that, all these poor people basically are looking up to us, the rich, successful men, and are jealous, and they're just a bunch of clowns.
So everyone starts dressing up as clowns, which also they're particularly pissed because he's running for mayor at the time as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, this rich yuppie dude wants to be the mayor. He's calling us clowns, and he's saying, like, you don't know. I know what's really good
You're just jealous of my success.
Yeah, he's like, if you guys haven't...
Pull up your bootstraps and be
if
rich.
you guys haven't, turned your life into a success by now, basically you're losers. Even though, didn't Thomas Wayne inherit his money? He's like,
yeah, it's the same story of every rich person in America.
Yeah, it's all this old money bullshit.
Yeah, he basically says you guys are losers and you're clowns. He tells the city that they're clowns.
What do you mean you're homeless? Just go buy a house.
So it turns into this whole movement, which I guess we'll talk about this a little bit later. But
people start to rally behind the clown.
But there's all these people who are protesting the mayor, getting in clown outfits, and basically we find out. I might be skipping ahead a little bit, but we do find out that apparently Joker. What was it that Arthur's mom?
Oh yeah, so before even we have the Wayne calling the whole town clowns, we get that little plot point about. His mom is waiting for
a letter.
A letter from the Waynes because she worked for them 30 years ago, and she writes letters to them, and they're not writing her back. And she says that Thomas Wayne is a good man. He's going to help us out because he's a good man. And then we get that TV clip of him calling the city people clowns.
Mm-hmm. And Arthur one night finds a letter that she was going to send to him. To Thomas Wayne, basically revealing that they actually had an illegitimate affair, and she had sex with Thomas at some point and had Arthur as an illegitimate child, and there were a bunch of papers signed to kind of cover it up because this type of woman can't be with him. It'd be a whole Bill Clinton style scandal type of thing.
It's a scandal, baby.
So he starts to think, and in the movie theater, this also fucked us up. You're thinking, okay, so he is Thomas Wayne's illegitimate son, and then you're thinking, wait a second, that means he's
Batman's brother.
Oh fuck! And then he goes up to his manor, and then we straight up meet little Bruce,
young Master Bruce,
Master Bruce.
Yeah, and he's fucking with this little kid too. I was uncomfortable. This is when I felt most uncomfortable, when he was doing all these little tricks for little Wayne, because he's thinking you're my younger brother. And at one point, they had that shot where he puts his hands through the bars, because that a big manor again, and then it just cuts to a shot of his hands just in this little kid's mouth, making him smile.
Yeah, he's forcing a smile on young Master Bruce's face.
Then good old Alfred runs up.
Yep.
Which a husky Alfred.
Yeah, we got a nice thick Alfred in this one. I like that. That.
Shouts out for the thick boys.
Yes, sir. So, and then Alfred's pretty much, get out of here. What are you doing?
What the fuck is your problem?
He's like, I want to talk to Thomas Wayne. I'm his son.
And he's like, look, man, it's all bullshit. Your mom's crazy. You're crazy. Get out of here. And
yeah. Alfred's familiar with his crazy mom. He's like, oh, you talking about Penny? Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro, nah, you tripping. She's tripping.
Stupid.
Yeah, y'all all tripping. Don't come here again.
So, Arthur's like, nuh-uh, and he rolls up to this big event outside of Arthur's place.
Hold on real quick. So he tells him that his mom is stupid and that she's crazy, and that's when he starts snapping, and he reaches through the bars and he strangles the shit out of Alfred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he chokes the fuck out of him.
So a second ago he was reaching through the bars, touching young Master Bruce, smiling, and then 2 seconds later he's choking the shit out of Alfred. So it's kind of like that fine line of mania that he has.
And then after this is his whole stand-up thing.
Yeah, where basically he does stand up, and his girlfriend's in the crowd.
Well, first he watches the guy do stand up and takes notes.
Yeah,
I think that's a really important thing.
It is important because it shows you
he's sitting in the club taking notes from this other comedian on how to be a comedian. Basically, people like dirty jokes.
Yeah, he's writing down the most ridiculous notes that show that he's just completely doesn't...
My favorite part of that whole scene is everyone in the crowd's laughing. He's not laughing when you're supposed to laugh. As soon as the crowd stops laughing and the guy keeps going on with the joke, he'll laugh at the most proper times, where there's nothing funny going on. No one else is laughing and he's just
because he doesn't know how to be a human. He doesn't know how to laugh, and that's why that's the Notebook is like the Notebook doesn't actually have jokes. It just has like tips on how to be funny. But also, what's interesting is not only is this like a joke notebook, which a lot of comedians have, it's kind of like his like
journal,
where he puts down all of his random thoughts. Which he had some interesting ones in there. There's certain points where they kind of show them, and one to kind of to drive home one of the big motifs of this movie being mental illness. There's a shot where it says something to the likes of the worst thing about having mental illness is that people expect you to pretend that you don't, or to behave like you don't.
And then my life would make more sense I hope my life makes more sense when I'm dead.
I hope my death makes more sense than my life does.
But since spelled like change sense, like CENTS. It's
that's the punchline, baby.
Yeah, it's a real corny pun. But yeah, he performs at this show. He eventually goes on stage. At first, you think it's horrible, which I guess overall it was pretty horrible.
It is horrible. He's sitting there for the first 2 minutes of his act, just laughing
uncontrollably,
and having that kind of manic disorder that he has when he can't stop his laughing because he's feeling uncomfortable.
I used to hate going to school, but my mother always said, "What." You're going to make the world be a better place.
Dude, it was like
some corny shit like that. It's literally just...
Some of the jokes were actually funny if they were like in a Mitch Hedberg-y kind of way.
Look, baby, it's all about timing, baby. You want to be a good comedian, you got to have timing to get out of Hollywood.
Like, they were really... Like, he was like, when I told people I wanted to be a comedian, they all laughed at me.
Well, who's laughing now?
No one. It's like crickets in there. And that's funny. That's funny.
Well, at the end of that shot, they do kind of zoom out from his back, and you see that he's apparently, you can't hear the jokes he's telling, but you see the audience actually laughing. So at some point, you know that he has won them over. Is that a delusion, though?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what I'd start.
100%.
So this does, we might be getting ahead, but this, basically at some point, this does get on the Murray show, and this Murray guy, played by Robert De Niro, actually shows a clip, which is kind of weird. It's like you're not supposed to record in open night comedy shows.
The way they got around it was when he was in the green room waiting to get on stage. He was watching the other guys act on the TV.
Yeah, on the monitor backstage.
Yeah, so they probably have recordings from that. Mm-hmm. That's how they got
That's how people get found and stuff, in reality and stuff. So they used that clip, they put it on TV, and laughed at him. And he saw this watching one night with his mom. Actually, I think he saw it alone. His mom was sleeping, and he saw that he was on there, and then he saw that Murray was roasting him, and they were all laughing at him.
Actually, by this point, I think his mom was dying. She was in the hospital when he got up and saw it on the TV. Remember?
Yeah, so basically, two detectives show up to his house while he's out, and
to question him about
the murder. And his mom starts freaking out and
apparently has a seizure,
and then gets sent to the hospital.
Yeah. But so he sees that clip of himself on Murray, and he's tight, man. He's a little bit heated about it. I mean, because they're making fun of him. They're using him as a punchline. He doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm. And they end up calling him. A producer calls him on, which we're skipping ahead a little bit. There is one point where he does go to actually confront his dad, Tom, or his supposed dad, Thomas Bruce, or Thomas Wayne. Sorry. He actually sneaks in past a protest outside of his manor and intercepts.
Easily, by the way.
At a movie theater.
Intercepts him while he's taking a piss. He rolls up to Thomas Wayne while he's taking a piss right behind him, and he turns around and he's like, "Can I help you, buddy?" or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then eventually he tells him "Hey, I'm Penny's son." Blah blah blah, and he's like, "Look, son, you ain't my son."
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
you ain't my son. You're actually adopted. She didn't tell you that you're adopted? And he's like, what the fuck
she made all this shit up. You're crazy. There's paperwork. She went to jail for abusing you. All this crazy shit. And he's like, no!
Yeah.
Which, to bring it back to the mental illness thing, when you think about the fact that this guy is he's already got a very tumultuous mind, this is such an up and down thing. First of all, he's kind of neutral. Then it's oh, my dad is actually Thomas Wayne. It kind of brings him up a little bit. He's like, oh, I'll be able to find my dad. And then he goes to confront him, and things actually he goes from, being elated to completely deflated by finding out, oh, I'm not your dad. Oh, and you're fucking adopted. Motherfucker, you don't even know your true origins. Nobody does. So he goes to
Arkham.
Arkham Asylum and gets someone to give him the records of his mom and where he came from and everything like that, like why she was admitted to the place. And the dude is reading the records and he's like, look, man, I can't tell you but so much. And he's
being really helpful at first until he reads certain things in the records and he's like
no,
he starts to pull back. He's like, yeah, actually, I can't give you this stuff.
But Arthur's like, no, fuck you, and goes through and grabs the shit.
Also, the Joker, I mean, Arthur is sitting there telling this guy, he's like, yeah, man, I've done some really fucked up things and hurt some people, man, and you think it would make me feel bad, but I just don't care.
He's like, it's actually,
and the guy's just
I haven't felt a thing.
You should really talk to somebody, dude.
He's like, you know, there's people you can talk to. He's like, yeah, they cut funding though. So did we mention that they cut funding?
Yeah, that's what the protests are all about. They cut a bunch of social programs,
which means that he no longer sees his shrink.
He hasn't been on his meds for
and he's
a while.
not
he's on his meds anymore. He's really becoming unhinged, which again kind of mirrors the idea. In my opinion, I think that's the main thing about this movie. It's just about the way that society treats people who are mentally ill. He's off his meds and he's going haywire. He's finding out he's adopted. He loses his job. Everything is tumbling on around him. He just killed some people. That's something. It's interesting because he feels like he hasn't been noticed in the world until he killed those people. That's something that kind of comes in a little bit later.
He feels like he hasn't been a real person.
So, like in the real world, the world is kind of getting obsessed with what they know about his actions, while all the while his personal life is actually getting lower and lower. So it's kind of, again, he's being pulled in two different directions. Like on one side, he feels more noticed than he ever has been. On the other side, he feels like less of a person. So yeah, I mean, do y'all just kind of want to like start talking about, kind of fast forward towards the end, because we're about
we can talk
minutes.
about these points, like the things that we want to gush, because I really want to gush about this movie, but I want to get through the plot of it first. So
he goes to the hospital after finding all this out. He kills his mother in the bed.
Smothers her with a pillow
because she lied to him. I mean, once he stole those files, all that shit was confirmed.
She alive.
Yeah, he's adopted. She's crazy. She let her boyfriend
abuse him.
Kind of sounds like sexually abuse him too.
Wow, God.
That's kind of what the vibe I was getting. They didn't explicitly say that, but they kind of hinted at
makes
he
sense.
Was
that shit
sexually abused and physically abused, and he had a severe brain injury,
which is why he has his laughing disorder.
That laughing disorder from the
he kills her. Injury. He goes after killing her. He comes back to the apartment complex and goes into what's-her-name's apartment with her daughter.
And she's shocked to see him. She doesn't know who the fuck he is. And we find out all of that shit was a delusion.
They were never dating. They'd been spending together. They'd been spending a lot of time. We got a lot of scenes with them together, including when his mom was in the hospital.
Yeah, she's like rubbing his back while he's in the hospital room. Let me go get you some coffee, babe.
Yeah, it was all just a giant hallucination.
Which makes a lot more sense.
So he's becoming more and more untethered, and he finds out that he's been invited on this show, on the Murray show. He's getting ready for the show. He's painting his face white, and some of his old coworkers come over. He kills one of the fucking coworkers.
Well, yeah, let's not glaze over that part. Holy shit!
Also, it's implied that he kills the woman and her daughter.
That hurts me.
It doesn't say it. It just implies it. I'm pretty sure.
I feel the same way. I didn't want that to be true, but I mean, I think
in the director's cut, there's going to be a murder scene in there.
Yeah,
but
I can't handle
that. The guy who gave him the gun and then the midget. I'm sorry,
bro.
They called him a midget in the movie.
But it was the 80s. People were calling black people the N-word in the 80s.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I don't know.
The dwarf guy. The little person.
Yes.
They come over and they're basically like, hey, the detectives came by and were asking about you, and I just wanted to make sure you didn't tell them anything about the gun or anything. Maybe we can get our story straight.
So even though it's like presented as like a friendly visit, there's a motive behind it, at least for Randy.
This is after he's been in the shower dyeing his hair green.
Oh yeah, so he's just dyed his hair.
He's got dye. He's just like half naked, covered in green dye, and just looking crazy. And he's like, "Yeah, my mom's dead. I don't care."
The transformation is becoming complete by this point.
He's going fully into the transformation.
And they're talking, and he just pulls out a pair of rusty ass scissors.
Hold on. So, because I love this scene particularly. This is the part of the movie where I was fully sold by this point in the movie. So, like, he's standing like in the doorway, doing this really awkward, like, kind of stance where like his shoulder blades all out. Fucking Joaquin Phoenix's performance, like I said, like even his physical appearance, he's so gaunt and just like just looks sickly. But anyway, he's standing in the doorway. The guy Randy is talking to him about like, hey, the police are coming. I just want to get our story straight. And you can kind of tell that he's not really listening to him. He's kind of like over talking him. Like he's like, yeah, that's fine, that's cool. I'm not taking my meds anymore.
He's already kind of plotting on killing himself when he gets on the show anyway. So I think at this point he doesn't really give a shit about anything.
He does not give a shit.
Yeah,
he stabs the fuck out of this dude.
The neck, the eye.
Oh yeah, the eye. I was like, damn.
I did not expect it to go so brutal, so quick, out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I knew he was about to kill this guy, but holy fuck, dude.
Yeah, so the best part of this scene is like when they come into the house, like he puts the chain on the door without like them noticing.
Don't forget that he bashed his head like 10 times.
Yeah, so he kills the shit out of this dude. And the dwarf dude, the little person. Dwarf is the proper term.
If it was a dwarf, I think maybe it was. I don't know.
The little person is like freaking out, like, "Oh my god, you just killed him!" And Joker's just like, yeah, you can go. I'm not mad at you." And like he goes to like try to open the door, and the chain's on the door, and he can't get out.
That got me, dude.
And he can't reach the chain because he's a little person. And so he gets up. He's like, "Hey, Arthur, can you unchain the door for me, please?"
You can get this. It's like you just saw this dude just murder.
So Arthur kind of jumps at him and then like spooks the shit out of him. And he's like crying, and he's like, and then like he goes to unchain the door and he kisses him on the forehead, and he's like, "You were always good to me."
Did he kiss him on the forehead?
Well, the top. Yeah, he kisses him on the top of the head, and he's like, "You were always good to me," and then open the door and let him out.
even like just every part of that scene was just like, whoa. Like even before the little dude gets to the door to like get to the chain and everything, he does that like that little scare at him where he jumps at him. And even before that, after he's laying there with Randy's dead body covered in blood and fucking little dude's in the corner, like he's like in a weird ass British accent, right? And he's like, "I'm gonna be on the telly tonight." like you remember like that, like this dude's just unhinged. I don't know. Like it's just like.
So then it's full on Joker time.
Yeah,
he
he's
does
the Joker.
The full makeup scene that you've seen everything in the press. He's got the full makeup, the suit, and everything, and he's
Green
going.
Hair.
He's walking down this long flight of like steps outdoors, and he's just fucking dancing.
He's just
dude.
dancing his
fucking ass off. There's always these scenes in movies where like they kind of take you out of the film almost. Where like if you put yourself in like the context of the movie, you'd be like, what could you imagine like doing this in public and like people watching you? And then it kind of like that exact like thought gets portrayed in the movie. Like you just kind of see these silhouettes. He's just dancing and it's all slow-mo and all this crazy just
music's
stylistic shots are going on, and then there's just two dudes in the background, and it goes to the two detectives, and they're just sitting there shaking their heads like, what the fuck is going on?
Like, what the fuck is this?
And they're like, "Arthur, you're under arrest!"
And he's like, "Oh!" He's like,
and just peels.
I was dying.
He's like dips. He's like,
dying. That was the best
back.
scene in the whole fucking movie, dude.
So they chase him all the way down to the subway. At this point, tensions are building in the city, and there's like this huge protest that's supposed to be happening.
Clown dudes are everywhere. So he doesn't even. He doesn't even stand out anymore because there's so many people in clown masks and even clown makeup.
Yeah.
So he's just a dude at this point.
He slips into the subway, slips onto the train with about 150 other clown people, and
the detectives are chasing him through the crowd. He's running through the train cars. At one point, he steals a mask from a guy. And that guy goes to punch him and misses him and punches another dude, and then a riot breaks out.
Just a huge subway fight breaks out.
So one of the detectives pulls out his gun, and he's like, move, get out the fucking way.
Which I thought was ridiculous, that he would just pull his gun out on the subway and pointing at people.
And of course, some dude's like, "Oh, you're pointing a gun at me," and like tries to like pull it out of his face, and the detective's like wrestling his gun and shoots the guy on accident.
Guy gets shot.
And then that causes everyone in the train to just start
mobbing on the
fuck out of the two detectives.
Which makes it really easy for Arthur to just slip away.
So then Joker just stands there, does his little dance.
Does a little dance.
Looking at him, he's like, "Ha ha," and then goes to the TV show.
And from this point on, I'm really like, I loved every bit of like the rest of this movie.
Yeah, the whole ending act is amazing.
When he comes out, and when they pull the curtains and he comes out, because I thought it was going to be so awkward and cringy right off the bat, and he just runs the show. He just comes out dancing with a cigarette in his mouth, and it was great. I was actually kind of rooting for him. I was
full
like,
clown makeup.
I was
full
like,
fucking clown makeup.
Even though I felt like, you know, my better judgment should know the movie's going to get even darker from this point, I was like, oh, he's actually, oh, there he goes. He's coming out of his shell. He's doing what he wants to do. And he sits down. He's just instantly like, oh, actually he doesn't sit down. He goes in.
And makes out with the sex doctor, old woman.
Yeah,
she's like an 80-year-old woman that's like a
not,
sex guru.
And as you can imagine, she's not fucking having it.
Yeah, he kisses her like full on the lips like this stranger woman. And
on live TV.
Yeah.
Is that's sexual assault? Right?
That's full on assault. And I feel like that lady, even afterwards, when he's like talking to Murray and stuff, and she's sitting beside him, she's like looking like, yo, this is crazy, right?
Y'all just letting this happen.
Y'all just let this happen.
That was just a good old time back in the 80s. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Ain't nothing but a good time,
exactly
baby.
what that was. And yeah, they're talking back and forth, and at first they're kind of having a banter. Murray's, you know, kind of making jokes out of the awkward situation. He's handling it well, like a good talk show comedian.
Did y'all enjoy the way he was like saying Murray's name, like Murray?
Kind of like we say, baby.
Yeah, there's definitely a very kind of like flamboyant to this incantation of the Joker. Once he's gone full on Joker, he's not like this kind of like intense, like weird. Like he's intense and weird, but there's definitely a flamboyishness to his performance.
They give him, they're like, tell a joke, and what's the joke? Like, knock knock, who's there? And he's like, the police, your son's just been killed by a drunk driver. And he starts cracking out laughing, and everyone's just like, Murray turns to him and he's like, we don't tell those types of jokes on my show.
We don't tell those types of
the
jokes. The
doctor that he just kissed on the face is like, that's not funny.
Yeah. I declare that not. I mean, I don't blame her. She's pissed at this guy. I'd be pissed at him over anything he does after this dude just fucking makes out with my old ass.
And especially like before then when he's in his dressing room and Murray meets him with Mark Maron. Shouts out to Mark Maron, who had like a weird like 5-second role in this movie.
Yeah.
Who was right.
Yeah,
by the way, Mark Maron was
dude,
like, we can't have this guy on
like,
here.
dude, look at this dude. Look
at this dude
right now. Because he's got the clown makeup on, and this is after that shooting in the subway, which they're heard about, and all the clowns. And they're like, is this a political thing? Like, is this a... He's like, no, it's just...
He's like, I don't care about those things.
Yeah, it's just my thing. But they tell him, they're like, look, man, we run a clean show here, you know, so just...
Yeah, and this is also where he gets the mantle Joker. He's like, I want you to introduce me as the Joker.
As Joker.
Because that's what you called me, a Joker.
Yeah, you called me a Joker when you played that video, so...
They're like, he's a real
cool.
Joker.
Yeah. So, they're like, you know, that joke's not funny, and he's like... Yeah, ha ha ha, you know, no one really ever pays attention to me until I killed those 3 people on the train. And they're like, what? He's like, yeah, I shot those 3 guys on the train. I murdered them. I don't give a shit.
And he's like, I don't care.
And then it goes into this whole, like, who the fuck are you? You're like a monster. Why are you doing this shit?
It's crazy that they let him just, like, keep talking and shit for so long after.
And then he goes into his whole, like, incel-filled, like, society did this! Society! This is what you get when a mental man meets society, and society doesn't care. And then he just pulls out a gun and shoots Murray in the face like 4 fucking times.
Which is also a little bit of a twist because in his like rehearsal that he's doing at home and shit, like
he keeps going.
Yeah,
like
it looks like he's going to shoot himself. Like that's the joke for him. Is like, oh, knock knock, who's there?
And then
boom, like, shoot myself in the head.
I think he really thought he was going to shoot himself in the head, but then he felt so emboldened when he was on the show. He felt so powerful that he was like, you know what, fuck it. And then we get the truth. He fucking shoots Murray right in the fucking face, which I don't know why I didn't expect that, but like it really took me. I was like, holy fuck, dude.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I was like, I should have saw that coming
because I was buying this scene. I was like, we're on live TV right now. This is already so fucking crazy. And he just shoots the fucking host on live TV, and of course everyone's in a panic. They cut they cut it.
He dances around the stage.
Oh,
he
gets
dances
up
to the camera, and he grabs the camera, and that's when they cut the feed.
Well, the big thing is, like, every night at the end of the show, Murray plays, he says, that's life, and then it goes into Frank Sinatra's That's Life.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, he goes up to the camera, and he's like, that's life, and then it cuts. It was fucking beautiful, man. Fucking beautiful.
Oh,
So
man.
he gets caught up by police, and then he's taken outside, and we see that the streets are just rioting right now. There's
Dude, the city's
pure
on
All the
fire.
clowns are like looking at the squad car and they're cheering as he's going by, and he's looking out the window just smiling, seeing all this chaos that he's done.
Yeah.
pure pandemonium. When all of a sudden a fucking ambulance comes out and just fucking nails the cop car completely out of nowhere, which is weird because, I mean, that's how they save him. The clowns know that he's in the cop car, and after they hit him, some other clowns come around and pull him out of the cop car, and it's like, really? This is your way of saving your hero?
him. Yeah, you're not supposed. First
Well,
of all, his neck's
it's
probably
perfect
broken.
for like the chaos that's going on. It's kind of like what he would have done.
I mean, it does it feels like we're invited into the Joker's world now, but his world is now the world. The whole world has become what is inside of his head.
They literally lay him out across the hood of the cop car like Jesus. He looks like he's like on the cross.
Some kind
His
of
arms
martyr.
are laid out. He's like a martyr. Then he slowly gets up. They're all cheering and going crazy. And then
And we're thinking he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it.
and
And
then
then
he goes into his fucking dance, dude.
Oh yeah,
It
he
is
starts
fucking
doing it.
beautiful.
Oh, what I love is how he rubs the blood,
The
from
blood.
his mouth and
To
like
make the
into
smile.
that
Make
the
smile.
smile.
And like it's because for the whole movie he's forcing that smile. And you guys
now
catch that,
he's-
and
now he's
like he
really
just like
smi-
makes
he's
it with the
truly
blood.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's actually happy. He says in the movie. Because his mom tells him the thing, you've been sent here to make the world laugh and smile. And
he's like, I've never been happy a fucking day of my life.
all I have is negative thoughts.
Yeah.
That's what he tells the psychiatrist.
Oh yeah, when she's like, you only bring me here to ask me if I have negative thoughts, and then there's that line which is, all I have are negative thoughts, you know. And yeah, but let's not forget we are in a Batman movie.
oh
So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So that I do kind of like the way they tied in.
I
'Cause
really
it could have
liked
really
it.
fucked this movie up.
I really liked how they tied it in.
But they did a good job. It
Do
was
you
pretty
want to
seamless.
take it, Mark?
Yeah.
So in the middle of all the pandemonium,
So there's mad pandemonium, of course, and because the riots have gone full blown since he shot Murray on live TV earlier tonight, and I guess the Wayans are out to a lovely theater night, and they exit the theater and head to the alley. Where a clown is waiting, waiting for some fat cats to come out the theater. He sees
Thomas
the
Wayne,
biggest fat cat of them all.
the representation of everything they're rioting against, and guns them down. Guns
Yep.
down Martha and Thomas Wayne right in front
snatches
of
those
little Bruce.
pearls. We had to get the. We gotta see those pearls
gotta
drop,
see the
baby. We gotta see
fucking
them pearls,
man.
baby.
Fuck.
So, but I like the way they did it too because it's that same Batman origin story scene that you see in 100 times. But it's not drawn out.
It makes
it's quick and
sense
to the
now.
point. Yeah,
It makes sense now. It's not just like
it's not some robbery.
there's a guy waiting in the alley specifically for Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne just happened to walk out into the literal riot that's about his life, and someone took notice. It was beautiful, man. Like I said, man, I loved every fucking moment of this fucking movie, man. Fuck,
yeah,
it was
and
so good.
we'll just wrap up the last. We might as well wrap up the last few events. I mean, he does go back to Arkham Asylum. He's talking to a therapist, and then it's pretty much made obvious that he has killed her. He escapes, and the movie ends with a trail of blood that he's leaving behind, and some guard chasing
some orderly chasing
like
him,
running back and forth, all
chasing
like a
him
bad
around.
like Charlie Chaplin film.
Yeah, it's
Just
like some Benny Hill
He's like,
shit, yeah.
"Woo, woo, 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 woo,
I
woo."
kind of would have liked it better if it ended like right there at the when you're talking to the psychiatrist she's like, what's so funny, because he's
like,
laughing.
you wouldn't get it.
You wouldn't get. He's like, it's a
Yeah.
joke. She's like, you mind telling me? And then you see him flash back in his mind, looking at young orphan Bruce now, orphan Master Bruce, and he's like, you wouldn't get it. I felt like it was just gonna end right there. I mean, I do like the scene, but like it could have ended right there.
That was sequel juice. That's what that was.
And that's the end of the movie, man.
That's it, baby.
All right, so
Joker
let's
2019.
So y'all want to get into because we've got two topics. Okay, so we're gonna talk about what are the good times of killing us first. We're gonna go around. Do y'all want to talk a little bit about anything else before we get into the
favorite parts of the movie? What are y'all's favorite parts of the movie?
The stair scene, the whole dancing stair scene is my favorite fucking scene. Just everything about it. It was just this really stylized shot. Like I was saying earlier, man, it's like those scenes in the movies where they just kind of take you out of like the movie for these just weird shots. And it just went straight back into it, and just dudes are just like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, it was
like, what the
beautiful,
fuck? Yeah, I
fucking
love that.
beautiful, man.
I love that too. Payne, what do you think your favorite part was?
I think I actually really appreciated the really dark scenes where they kind of really dig into the fact that this guy is just completely crazy. The parts that really make it believable.
refrigerator.
Like, yeah, when he goes in the refrigerator, that was
What?
weird. But just when he's like recording in his little journal, these parts that really kind of make that for me helped me buy the fact that like this is a realistic Joker origin story about just a mentally insane person. Because that's the whole shtick about the Joker anyway. He's completely unhinged. He's a completely unhinged human being, and those types of scenes really made it hit home for me. Where I was like, okay, this is really what it's about, and that's what I really appreciate about this movie is that like. The whole point. We're going to talk about this in a minute. People have tried to extrapolate all these different meanings out of this movie, but really all this movie is about, to me, is just, hey, let's make a comic book movie that's really dark. Okay, mental illness. He's explaining mental illness, and they're exploring that world a little bit, the way that society does treat the people who are mentally ill. This idea of him being given all these different medications. They don't really care about how they're affecting him. He's just thinking, I just want more medications because, I mean, who really knows how to handle these things?
I think the big thing that a lot of critics are getting wrong about this movie is literally like one of the major plot points of the movie. They're trying to politicize everything in this movie and get all these fucking like, well, he's an incel. Well, it's going to lead to shootings. They're glorifying these mass shooters and all this shit. Joker literally, they're doing the same thing in the movie. Oh, you killed these people and you started this movement. You're being political with your makeup. No, he doesn't give a shit. Mm-hmm. This movie doesn't give a shit about any of that. It's just about a crazy person being crazy.
Yeah,
there's no politics. There's nothing into it. They're reading what they want to into it, and that's the same thing that Gotham City did with the Joker killings. They put what they wanted into that killing. It was a random act of violence of a man unhinged. It had nothing to do with anything, and they put their politics into it. And that's what critics are doing right now on fucking line. Mm-hmm. Every review you read from a major publication is just putting their fucking weird fucking political take into it.
Dude, honestly, my favorite part was that scene in his apartment, like after his mom died, when his two clown friends come over and he kills that dude Randy. That whole scene, like from that point in the movie, I was fully sold because it was unhinged. He was completely like manic, and it was so brutal, dude. It was so quick and brutal, and then he was just completely like he didn't get. You could clearly see this guy does not care. He does not realize that he just violently bashed someone's head across the wall until his skull crushed, and this dude's a little freaked out by that.
Oh, yeah, he's totally dissociating from the event.
Yeah, completely. He's thinking about the TV show tonight.
Definitely,
exactly. That's all that's on his mind.
School shooter vibes, like all those memes, like about school shootings, where it's like, "Hey, man, you were always nice to me. Don't come to school tomorrow." Like, definitely that. You were always good to me. You can leave. I
did. I don't, because we talked about this a little bit before. You said that you kind of definitely saw the incel vibe there a lot. That is one part where I was like, because they've talked about that, how that's happened with like school shooters. I think specifically with the Columbine shooters, like there are people that were there like, oh, you were good to us or whatever. Which is a quick aside. Those dudes were actually fucking assholes. They weren't really treated like these little like lame kids.
They were kind of chads.
Yeah, exactly. But without getting too into that, that was such a school shooter vibe. This idea of like, oh well, you were always good to me. That kind of rubbed me a certain type of way. But at the same time, I get it. That's the thing, is people are really trying to politicize this movie. I've seen it from both sides. I've seen reviews that have, I sent you all that New York Times review earlier.
It was so ridiculous.
Where the dude said, of course, he gets jumped by 3 young men of color, an allusion to the Central Park 5 incident, and I was just like, what? Yeah, and he, any character that is not white in this movie, they broke down as being some kind of a political statement. When really, I mean, I'm not against politicizing movies to a degree, but I can honestly say I do not feel this movie is way more enigmatic than that. It's not a movie that's meant to be politicized. It's just a movie about a guy who's crazy, and I think what's great is you can extrapolate these certain things from it, but by letting yourself be offended and dismiss its artistic value over those things, that's just you being nitpicky, trying to get fucking win the woke Olympics.
My whole problem with that whole article was that every person of color in the movie had a positive role. They weren't most movies of that time would show a black person as a crackhead or some gangster or some shit. They were just some kids being kids, or a single mother that took care of her daughter, or 2 psychiatrists. They weren't just typical stereotypical 1970s roles for black people. These were upstanding citizens. They were treated like everyone else. They happened to be black as a casting choice. them being black had no purpose in the movie other than just what you visually saw.
I gotta admit, like, pretty much everyone in this movie kind of sucks.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There's no one in this movie that's like a heroic person.
The neighbor girl might be the most like positive, kind of neutral,
because she wasn't a douchebag.
Like,
she wasn't an asshole.
Like even when she comes out and finds a strange man in her house, she's like, "Can I help you? Do you need me to call your mother?
Yeah.
Are you okay? Can I call someone for you?"
Yeah, I hate that.
Like, she wasn't like, "Fuck you" or anything like that. That's what I'm not understanding, like, trying to bring, like, racism into it. Like, it's just like,
I mean, people are going to put what they want to put on movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think it's interesting that this movie in particular got targeted so hard, and I think it's because of,
the state of the culture.
Yeah, the state
of our country.
Yeah, the state of the country right now. Everything is so divisive that we see this movie that involves. The elements are there. Like, okay, you've got like this mentally deranged man who basically kind of becomes like a sort of terrorist in a way, a domestic terrorist, and then we kind of attach it to actual instances of domestic terrorism in this country. We think about incels, we think about white nationalism, and it's like, yeah, I can kind of see where that is, but this movie is just not. It really is just a really dark comic book origin story. And like I said before, this movie is 100% more about mental health than anything.
Yeah.
Anything, I mean, I think if you could extrapolate some kind of a political message from it, what I thought was, okay, we're seeing this person who is absolutely insane, who's being all of a sudden idolized, has this kind of hero, but all the people that are worshiping him are clowns themselves. Like in every way, it's just saying like whether these people are, you can see either like the far left, like these are like Antifa people, or you can see Trump supporters as those people. Whatever side you want to represent, in some degree. The only commonality that I see with this movie in terms of like our culture right now is just the idea that we as a culture are kind of going a little bit unhinged and insane. That's the only thing that I got from it. And people are trying to divide, or trying to cut it apart and try and put it in either direction. And it's like, no, man, like you're just afraid. I think this movie almost works on a meta level where it kind of like taps into something that's really heavy, and I don't even know if it intended to. They just really got to the heart of what true insanity is. And maybe I sound like I'm giving this movie a little bit too much props, but I thought it was amazing. I thought they really conveyed what it's like to be insane, what the way that the world treats the mentally ill, the way that it must be to be that intensely mentally ill. You know, I feel like I'm kind of getting ahead of myself to are the good times killing us, so I'm just going to go and jump into it.
Well,
the good times are not killing us. I love it.
Okay, I was
Let's
going
do
to say,
it.
before we get...
Well, we can do that part after.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we have one more special segment at the end of this we're going to talk
Okay.
about. So let's get in. I just went on a big spiel, so now y'all go. Let's just get
So,
into it.
no, but are the good times killing us?
The good times are not killing us. I absolutely really like this movie. I look forward to seeing it again, and I do hope that there's a sequel.
Yeah. I'll go next.
Go ahead.
I loved every fucking minute of this film. Every scene. There was probably 10 or 12 scenes where I literally couldn't watch the movie because it was so unnerving, or so I had to cover my eyes, or so fucking cringy. Like, there are people out here living this fucking life, and it was just too much for me to like fucking handle, like watching. And I loved.
Look at it.
I love that it made me so unnerved. Not like in a disgusting, like, oh, there's corpse rape or some shit.
Yeah.
Just like,
Listen to our Takashi Miike episode.
yeah. It just literally, I was unnerved or having chills run down my spine the entire movie, or I was laughing at the absurdity of it. It is an amazing film. I loved every fucking minute of it. I went in and wanting to hate it. I came out absolutely fucking loving it. I'm gonna buy it as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray. I haven't bought a movie in 5 fucking years, but I'm gonna buy this movie when it comes out.
What was the last movie you bought?
I think I bought like Kill Bill like from a Walmart bin like 10 years ago. Like, that was the last time. I don't buy films. I have Netflix. But I'm gonna buy this fucking movie because it's something I'm gonna want to watch again and again and again and show people.
Definitely.
It is fucking amazing. So the good times are not fucking killing us.
Just a quick aside I want to throw in. Like what you mentioned about how this movie somehow was actually funny. Again, that's how this movie works so brilliantly. It kind of invites you in on the utter lunacy of it. We kind of had the sense of humor. I don't think everyone in the theater felt the same way. But
there were definitely people like judging us for laughing.
As much as we were.
Who were like, who are these psychopaths? It's like, I almost... But it feels like it really invites you into this world where you're kind of like, damn, I'm really laughing at this. But
I did
exactly
feel
like-
cringy waiting in the movie because you guys got there after me. I did feel weird being the white guy in the fucking line by myself. Yeah, one for Joker, please.
Oh, I left my fedora in the car.
Hold on real quick. Excuse me, milady. One for Joker.
So I was real glad when like the rest of my friends showed up. So I'd be like, no, I didn't come alone. Like,
Dude, I gotta tell you, man, went into this movie not expecting much, and honestly, even through a good part of the movie, like it was good. It had me completely like engaged, but it wasn't because the first like hour or so, I just felt like you said, it was so uncomfortable, and I just felt like I was watching like an hour 45-minute long mental breakdown.
kind of like watching TikTok compilations.
You know, it was just like it was just like so hard to get through for a little bit. But then like I said, in that from that scene in his apartment where he kills those guys, and it's actually like a really good example of what you're talking about. Why
The
we're
whole last
laughing.
act.
Yeah, the whole last act is actually what sold me. But that's from that scene on, because it's kind of like what you were talking about. Here we have this brutal fucking murder, and somehow that's also kind of like a hilarious part in the movie.
Yeah.
Not the murder, but just that scene. Like, the scene in general, like him, like, in the hallway, like, oh, yeah, it's fine, it's cool. My mom died, I'm off my meds and shit. Like, and then, like, the little dude couldn't get out the shit. The jump scare at him, and, like, it was just, like, hilarious. It was funny. It's so...
What a joke, dude! This little man trying to get out, and he couldn't reach it to get out, and he had to ask the dude to just
Arthur, please, can you unlock the door?
Like, could you?
And he's just like,
oh
yeah,
yeah,
I'm so sorry, dude.
That got me, dude. I was like, no, that was brilliant.
Like, remembering it is funny.
And you gotta remember, this movie was made by the guy who made comedy movies, so there's a little bit of timing, like this guy. I think there's something to that.
There's some comedic beats, especially like another scene where when his mom's in the hospital, and there was no reason for this other than to get a cheap, quick laugh. But his mom's in the hospital, he's outside going through it. He's,
my god,
and fucking
I forgot.
The detectives walk up on him again for more questions. They're like, hey, we got a few more questions. He's like, dude, my mom's in the hospital. They're like, oh yeah, we saw when we came by earlier, she got all fucking weird. And he's like, what do you mean? You're like, well, we were asking him some questions and she started freaking out and blah blah. He's like, did y'all do this to her and stuff? And
yeah,
like,
and as the audience, we're on Arthur's side. We're like, yeah, tell him, Arthur.
Yeah, like fuck, yeah, exactly. It was it should have went just regular,
Mark,
like, you know.
But then
the fucking door, fucking
That's
door.
when he walks to the hospital.
Yeah, he's
and
like, what did they ask him? They asked, oh yeah, because he starts, they're doing those questions. He's going through it, his mom's dying, and he starts fucking going through that fit of laughter.
He's like, is it all part of your act?
It's part of your act.
He's like, what do you think?
And as he walks off, and then walks into the door, like for no reason,
like the old birds in the Windex commercials, just doing, and you're just like, oh man, I really fucking.
He's like, fuck, that would have been hard if I went through the door and not into it.
They're like, it says exit only, and he's like, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, it forces these moments where you kind of gotta laugh, man. I thought it was funny. I thought it was good. Bottom line, I don't think these good times are killing us. I think these good times are spooking me a little bit.
The good times are definitely spooking.
You know, but I think it was a great movie. I think it was well done. I don't know if I would use the word. I think people throw the word masterpiece around pretty loosely, but I think it was a very good, well done film.
It has my masterpiece seal of approval.
I might need to see it one or two more times. To me, it's
more, but I would recommend.
It's an enigma. To me, that's all I can say. This is a very enigmatic film.
This is like up there with like Pulp Fiction and like Django Unchained.
We'll see. We'll see how it ages.
So definitely a very, very vulnerable portrayal of the Joker, very much as opposed to Heath Ledger's Joker in
let's get into it.
The Dark Knight. So this is a kind of a special edition we got to get into. I'm sure some conversations are going around the country right now. But aside from whether you loved or hated the film, the direction, the script, or whatever, we got to talk about these performances. We're talking about Walking Phoenix versus Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. Who wants to kick it off?
I'm going to say this. I'll say this much. Joaquin's Joker is like kind of embodies chaos. And the reason why I say this is because Ledger's Joker had this whole scene about talking about how he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's like, I'm just like a dog that chases a car. He's like, if I caught it, I don't know. He plays up to being this kind of chaotic, anarchic type of character. Mm-hmm. But really, Heath Ledger's Joker is kind of a fucking mastermind.
Yeah.
You know, like, he puts all these crazy plans in effect.
Granted, that is a Joker that's, like, way down the line.
I know, but it's
way more
like,
developed.
I don't see our Arthur Fleck in that. Like, he doesn't seem like a he's definitely... He's actually the embodiment of chaos and lunacy, because at any moment, you don't know which way he's going. You don't know, like, he's so unhinged and, like, completely, like, unhealthy. He's just like, I don't know how to put it. He's just I feel like what Heath Ledger's Joker was claiming to be, I loved Heath Ledger's Joker, I loved what it was, but this is a different direction. This is a completely different direction. I don't know if it was better, because I feel like they're two different, they're two sides of the same coin, you know?
Yeah, I'll go second, because I think K-Town's got some really hot takes on this. I think that, yeah, they're kind of two sides of the same coin. Part of me is thinking, okay, you know, this Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, is kind of like it really is an origin story, and there's a part of me that's thinking, okay, he's kind of embracing insanity, because when you look at how he kind of started to swag out at the last minute, you can kind of see how there might be a little bit of like a method to the madness type of thing coming out of him, where you could see maybe a sequel coming out where like maybe Joaquin Phoenix gains a few more pounds, because there's no way he's going to be a scary Joker if he doesn't gain some weight.
I do not want a sequel to this movie.
I do, but maybe that's another conversation for after the podcast. But like, he needs to get a little bit more swole. But I could see this Joker maybe becoming a mastermind. But at the same time, kind of going with what you're saying, if it's not really that case, if this movie ends up being a standalone movie, or if this Joker grows into just a more advanced version of this character, this kind of mentally unhinged person, it's like there's two different things that are kind of leading each of those Jokers. And with Heath Ledger's, it kind of feels almost supernatural. This idea of this like person who's a representation of pure insanity. It's like he is just a representation of insanity without really like it's like it doesn't feel real. You know, like it feels real, it feels purely insane, and you believe it, but it just feels supernatural. It feels like something that's like he's like a spirit. He's like a possessed like demon. Whereas Joaquin Phoenix's
very real.
It feels so real. It feels like this could actually happen. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that gets pretty ridiculous by the end, but no,
it's super grounded in reality.
Yeah, it's instead of being supernatural, it's just psychological. Like it's purely, it kind of. I mean, it's inspired by character studies. I mean, this movie is obviously very much inspired by Taxi Driver, and you know that's a big element of it. So as far as like which one is better or worse, I can't really say. As far as which one I like more, I'm going to have to honestly go with Heath Ledger's portrayal. But if I'm going to sit down and watch a movie that I think is going to be pretty cool, I honestly don't like seeing Batman that much, so I'm going to have to go with Joker in that case.
Real quick, just
the movie
before K-Town. So yeah, exactly like what you said. Like, I love Heath Ledger's Joker for what Heath Ledger's Joker was. This is not that same thing. This isn't burn a giant pile of money Joker. This isn't fucking rob a bank Joker. Not yet. Like, you know.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. You know, like, it's a slightly different take on Joker, but I love this take on him. It's very much more realistic, and
the movie's all about him.
Yeah,
The Dark Knight is still about Batman.
Yeah, there's almost no scenes that he's not in. He's in like every scene. You're seeing this completely through his perspective. So when he's going through his delusions and stuff, you're going along for the ride with him, because you are looking through his eyes basically for the most part of the movie. Heath Ledger's Joker is totally. I think people have timed it. He's like on screen in that movie for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, he's not even in that long. But I love his portrayal of the Joker. His whole everything, like the licking his lips thing, just the way that his makeup is. I do prefer that Joker a little bit more, but it is a little bit more of apples and oranges. But all I can really say is that his like all the dancing of Joaquin Phoenix, all the weird facial stuff, that's really creepy and weird. But for me personally, I was more entertained by Heath Ledger's Joker. It doesn't necessarily mean I think one's better than the other. As far as acting performances goes, I would say they're about on par. I'd say they're about equal.
Yeah, I think they're both well. And they both dug in.
And K-Town is fuming, ready to go.
I can see.
And we don't know what he's going to say, y'all. So real quick, this is all coming at us because it sounds like he's got a hot take. So that is, I'm zipping my mouth. Go right ahead, K-Town.
Hands down, 150 million%. Joaquin Phoenix is a better Joker than Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger's Joker was groundbreaking at the time, but I don't know if it's been tarnished. The legacy's been tarnished by every fucking YouTube video out there right now of some weird neckbeard doing a Joker impression from that era.
They kind of got the Rick and Morty effect where the fans ruined it.
They kind of ruined it for me, but it's 100 times better. It's like eating a piece of like a McDonald's cheeseburger to a fucking 16-ounce prime rib from a fucking $100 steakhouse. It is insanely indescribable how good this fucking movie was. This is for real. I've never been this excited coming out of a movie except for a Star Wars movie, out of the theater about a movie. I loved every single fucking aspect of this character. I loved every fucking delusion, every fucking weird, awkward, cringy scene. I loved that. I felt uncomfortable watching. Mm-hmm. I watched Batman.
I didn't like it until like today. Yesterday I was like, ooh.
Yeah, Heath Ledger's Joker was amazing, but I can sit through and watch that. At no point am I don't feel uncomfortable watching that Joker.
No, there's no real visceral feeling.
Nothing's making me feel cringe. I was able to fully visualize every scene that he was in and have no feeling other than that, hey, this is cool.
That was sick. Mm-hmm.
I literally had to turn my head. I can't even count how many times in this movie not to look at the screen because I felt so unnerved by just his performance. Everything about this was amazing. It is a perfect representation of what I idealize as the Joker. I loved every minute of it. Heath Ledger, again, amazing role, but it was the Hot Topic Joker. He was edgy. I burn money. I'm crazy.
I thought it was more unique than that. I'd never seen anything like that before. This Joker, I felt like I've seen this type of performance before, but
not on a level of a comic book movie.
Yeah.
This, like I said earlier, if this wasn't a Batman Joker movie,
it's still
and you just took it out, it still would be an amazing film.
Yeah,
this would be beyond. I just everything about. I wanted to hate this so fucking bad, but I loved every second of it. It's just Joaquin blew this out of the fucking water. The way he looked, the way he moved, just even something as simple as him just stretching out his fucking clown shoes. That whole scene where his back,
my God, dude, that
scene right there, fucking disgusting.
Dude, fucking shoulder blades and everything, dude.
It was disgusting. Him interacting with someone on a train made me cringe. I didn't get any type of feeling like that from Joker shit. It was just him licking his lips and making a girl not look at him. Like, that's cool and all, but Joaquin literally, to my core, made me fucking cringe. And I loved every second of it. I feel 100 times better than Heath Ledger's.
While I do like Heath Ledger's more, what I can say is I think overall, I think a lot of people probably agree, no matter how you feel about it. I think Heath Ledger's performance made a lot of people feel like, you'll never be able to touch that again. There's no way that we could ever have a Joker performance or any kind of comic book performance that would hold a candle to that. And no matter how you feel about it, whether you like Hawkins more or less, without a doubt, he's up there. He's in the ranks.
I had the same feeling. Jared Leto did it, and I was like, there'll never be another Heath Ledger.
Yeah, because that movie made you feel like, that performance. I mean, I haven't seen it, but
it's horrible. It's goofy. Even Jared Leto tried to do the whole Heath Ledger thing and stay in character, and he sent people like fucking pig heads and shit as jokes and like trying to be edgy,
rats and shit,
and like he masturbated on like a towel and sent it to everybody and like all the cast, like a bunch of weird.
And everyone was just like, "What are you doing, dude? This isn't working."
It was just like edgy bullshit. I'll take back the Hot Topic thing about Heath Ledger's.
Yeah,
Jared Leto was the Hot Topic. Yes. Heath Ledger was the fucking Nirvana before corporate America made them into what I view as Nirvana is today.
All right.
But I just loved every aspect of this movie, and I loved every aspect of the character, and I think Joaquin made this fucking movie, dude.
Joaquin definitely made this movie. And I know we're about to wrap up and stuff.
Yeah.
Can I say one of my favorite things about this movie, probably?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, as we know, canonically, Joker's origins are shrouded in mystery. Mm-hmm. They've always
there's
been.
so many.
There's still more that is shrouded. He's adopted. So, by the nature of this character,
that's what I'm getting at. So, like the first way I felt when I heard there was a Joker origin story, I'm like, do we need that?
Yeah.
Like I don't think we need that. But the way that they did it, they gave him this whole backstory and this and that, and they even fucking teased at him being Batman's brother, and then at the end of the movie, they take it all away. He's still shrouded in mystery. We still don't know where he comes from. We still don't know who he is.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. I like the way that, like, because I know there's a lot of fucking edgelords who are like, oh, well, Joker, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're back to square one now.
Well, it's a classic example of, like, you get the answer to a question that just opens up even more questions.
Exactly.
About
him.
Again, I just love that. I've never felt this way in a movie. I've never felt uncomfortable.
Well,
maybe with Midsommar, I felt pretty uncomfortable.
One last thing before we wrap this thing on up. What are y'all's feelings about a sequel? Because personally, I'm kind of skeptical about how this incarnation of the Joker is going to work in an actual Batman universe.
And that's where I'm going to stop you right there. The second you put Batman in this, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I don't.
Not like this. Not the way that this.
They'd have to knock
works.
it out of the park in a whole new direction, and it'd still have to go all the way.
The fact that they even got Little Bruce and tied in Thomas Wayne Industries or Wayne Enterprises at all, and it worked out is pretty surprising to me because I would have thought that,
I bought it.
I bought it. I totally bought it, and it worked. But like. You get a bat suit in there, and this all goes down the drain.
I had to kind of agree with you. I don't think I could. This was such a perfect and amazing movie. I think it would tarnish it trying to replicate this again. Yeah,
I agree. I think a sequel will it's more likely to ruin the legacy of this movie. Or if they really, really, really do something totally unique, they can make a masterpiece. It's either going to be an absolute masterpiece or it's going to ruin everything.
Absolutely love them to make another movie and it be amazing. I would fucking love that, but I don't think they could pull it off. If they could, I'd be stoked. But I have a lot of fucking doubts that they could replicate this again. This is like a unicorn.
Yeah, I believe that.
Or lightning. You can't get it. Lightning doesn't strike twice.
Yep. All right, y'all. So y'all want to wrap it up? This is a long one. A long one for a single movie. But it's worth it. This really was a fantastic movie. We all had a great time seeing it. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the Good Times Are Spooking Us podcast. It's your boy Payne. I'm here with K-Town. And we're here with Marquise. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook because the good times are fucking spooking us.
We're dead.
I did everything you said. I helped you.
You helped me by erasing my mind what unfaded memories I had. Oh. You left me in a black hole of rage and confusion. That's the medicine you practice, Dr. Quinzel.
What are you gonna do? You gonna kill me, Mr. J?
What? Oh, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you. Really, really bad.
You think so? Well, I can take it.
I wouldn't want you to break those perfect porcelain cap teeth. when the juice hits your brain.